Welcome to the Builders Podcast, Episode 80, Roland Pokornyik. Email design systems, building products, finding your channel and niche. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are here with Roland Pokornyik. Roland is an email guru, so we get to talk about email today in between things. We'll weave that in. He also is the founder of Chameleon, a email service that we'll probably end up talking about a little bit. What we'll probably do today is talk a little bit about the journey first, just how Roland got started in his kind of entrepreneurial journey to, why email? How did he end up there? Welcome to the show, Roland.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So do you want, where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about, maybe kind of rewind why you got into what you're doing today or, in business in general?
Yeah, I will try to be brief. I wanted to become an entrepreneur quite early on. I think at the age of 16, I said, okay, once in my life, I'm going to have a company, run a business of my own. But I didn't have any family members who did that before. So it was pretty new to me. And I studied economy and then online marketing. So I figured out, okay, that it has to be something with software and the internet. So that's what I knew at the age of 20 something. And then I pretty much, one of my best friends from school is a developer, and we decided that, okay, we're going to build something together. And the first product wanted to be a web shop builder, and not surprisingly, there were many, and there was already Shopify. So we said that, okay, maybe this is not something that we're going to tackle because they are just so huge, and we are just 2-3 guys from another continent with very limited cash. And we said that, okay, let's do something else.
Great things have happened from people's garages. A lot of the big successes in the world, just some guy in a garage somewhere. Could have happened.
Yeah, maybe it happens occasionally, but in our case, we decided to go for something different. And I went for a train trip from Budapest to the countryside, and it was let's say 2 hours. I was checking emails on my phone, and I realized that, okay, most of these emails look bad on mobile devices. And I just read a study from a well-known brand that publishes studies every year. And they said that the people are looking for a consistent experience on web, on email, and all sorts of different devices. And I told my co-founder, who has a tricky name to pronounce, Gyula, it's not something that you would want to. So, and got him to, okay, why don't we just build an email builder or an email editor tool? And he said that, okay, sounds good, let's do it. And that's pretty much how it started quite a while ago in 2012. So that's when we started building the first product. It was called Edm Designer. It's still live. We have customers on it. And Chameleon is actually the second product that we built from the several years of experience of not building the exact right solution. So we reiterated, you can call it a pivot, but we decided to do it under a different brand and pretty much evolved the initial email builder into an email creation platform. So we are not an email service in this regard. We help people and especially businesses to design and create nice looking email templates without ever needing to touch the code. So in fashionable terms, we could call it a no-code email builder, because that's what we invented quite a while ago. But the no-code term seems to be way
Nice.
newer than
Yeah, yeah. The new hot term.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, we have to change the actual words that we use on the site from time to time, and
Yep.
no code has to be there because there's a no code movement. So I think
Kind of like Web3. You got to just throw it in there because
yeah, I
the cool
think
kids are talking about it.
the term the term that we used previously was called drag and drop, because that was
Drag and
before no code. So then you could drag and drop things, and people understood that, okay, I don't need to code. But now we call it no code. So I think it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So you built a platform that to build emails. And does that integrate with then other platforms to deliver them, like MailChimp
Definitely.
or whatever? Or
Yeah,
all the building's done no code in your system, and then you can whatever email provider you're using integrates with that.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So customers build their emails in Chameleon. They have the option to build up their email design system. That's a new fashionable term, and it's really useful actually to have an email design system. Or you might know, or I guess as a web designer, that the same applies for the web. So if you have a design system for anything, then it speeds up the creation process after a while. But establishing your design system, that's a job to do. So that requires resources in-house, especially from designers and marketers. But once you have it laid down, then you can scale the production. And now,
What do you mean by design system? Like the way you construct them, or the types of emails you're sending out in your various areas of your business?
it pretty much means that you set certain standards for colors, fonts, buttons, then
Okay, so like a
components
branding.
like
Okay.
headers, footers. So pretty much all the components that you would reuse in your email messages. Ideally, these resonate with the web design also, so it's not separate from the brand as a whole. So if you lay out these foundations, that's how I typically call those, then you can really scale the email production. And it's not important for everybody. So we don't try to serve everybody at the moment. We typically serve companies who have 50, 100 plus employees, and they care about their branding, and they have challenges creating enough emails or enough email variations, because they are either limited by their email marketing software or internal processes, and they still hand code email. So that's when they would be looking for a solution like Chameleon. But
It's interesting. Yeah, there's a
it's
lot of there's like if you look at MailChimp or Aweber or GetResponse or whoever all the big names are these days in email, I mean, they don't always have the best builders. They don't have good probably systems in place to help somebody really.
yeah.
I imagine that's the solution you're kind of creating there to make it easier to, especially at a larger scale. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the builders in MailChimp and the others that you mentioned are good for, let's say, 80% of their customers. Then there's the remaining 20. If we take into account the 80-20 rule, then 20% they design their emails elsewhere. And previously it was hand-coded HTML, and then we started with our first product, then some others joined the industry. So there are certain email builders that you can use. And if you need a bit more than just to build an email template, if you need a process to be in place for especially for team collaboration, reviews and approvals, so these tedious processes that otherwise take a bunch of time, then you go a step further and look for an email creation platform. So these would be the levels. I would say
You kind of have a workflow for like reviewing and stuff like that.
exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting because every once in a while I get a call for somebody to can you build us an HTML email, or and we've in fact recently I remember one of my developers had to spend a little time building out some emails, but that's the hard way to code them and
Exactly.
do it that way. But yeah, having a no code situation sounds really really cool. What is so I'm curious about I've been I don't have a large list today. I'm rebuilding it from the ground up. I used to have a decent list years ago. And one of the things that always comes to mind is for me, and some systems allow you to do both, but or most, like text email versus HTML email. Is there, from a deliverability standpoint, is there anything to speak to there? Is it better to, are there still emails or systems or that will will frown upon HTML emails, or is there something there that needs a way they're built that can help in terms of deliverability and stuff?
It really depends on the type of audience that you have. So I
Mm,
don't think that there would be anything like text email anymore. So everything is HTML, just minimal HTML without too much
yeah.
formatting and
Okay.
images, or one with background images, background colors, buttons, and those type of emails. And I see that the simple HTML emails work, let's say, if you're into consulting, or if you're selling some sort of info products, or anything where the storytelling aspect is more important than actually seeing a product, or anything tangible.
Mhm.
Then the text heavy emails work better. We can't really help with that because that's easy to
Yeah.
create. So
Yeah.
we focus on the visually appealing transactional emails, marketing messages,
Oh,
whatnot.
right.
And but in some, I think in more industries, people expect to see something visually also, apart from reading text-heavy emails. So
Yeah.
it's up to you. I think, if you're into web design, or if you're into anything connected with design, of course you need to have a nice email. But
Yeah.
if you sell an info product, it doesn't really matter. You just need to sell the story anyway.
That's interesting you say that. It depends on the industry, the niche, the whatever your audience. Because I hearken from the days of when I first started on the web 20 years ago. I was heavy into the internet marketing world and make money world. And a lot of emails back then, especially, were just plain text, and there was actually like thought around the width of the emails. You break the breakpoints you have so they're easier to read, and so I think that's kind of where that got ingrained in me for a long time. But even today, like the email that I do send out to my list, I use Mailchimp. So, and I hate their new builder, but anyway, that's another story. but but there, I'm still kind of using that kind of text thought process, but it is an HTML email. It's just simple text. But I get a little fancier with their brand and stuff. But you're right. If you just add a logo and stuff like that, I guess my thought was, so many people do send out HTML emails today, so that can't be a problem, right?
Uh,
Google
I
or
think
Gmail or whatever is, yeah.
from a deliverability perspective, I think the only difference maybe is that with less less heavy HTML, without images and stuff, you have a higher chance of landing in the primary inbox in Gmail. Um, that's the only difference between the two. But if you use MailChimp, most likely you will never end up in the primary inbox, because there are just too many uh, free users using MailChimp servers, and they don't have the best reputation for this.
Mm.
But I'm not trying to convince people not to use MailChimp. I think that most
Yeah.
promotional messages should end up in the promotions tab. I'm an
Mm.
advocate of this approach, because I unsubscribe instantly if I get a message into my primary inbox. So I think you shouldn't really be worried about deliverability especially until you don't have a big list. There can be issues when you have hundreds of thousands subscribers or millions. Then it's a different story, and unfortunately I'm not into deliverability, so I can't speak for too much about that topic, but it gets really complicated when you have big lists. And I see many discussions in the email geeks community about from companies that send, let's say, 100 million emails per month, and there are many companies in the US with that size of a list. We did an A/B test quite early on with the Edm Designer product. I think let's say in 2014, and we contacted a small family-owned e-commerce store, and they had a list with 1 million subscribers back then. And they sent image-only emails because that was easy to create. They just sliced up the Photoshop file and sent out the email. And we rebuilt the same email with proper HTML to test how it performs. And it outperformed the original email with 10-15% in pretty much every regard. So click-through rates were better. The conversions and eventually the ROI was better. So I just wanted to tell not the ROI part, but the interesting fact that there are, let's say, even smaller web shops with 1 million people as subscribers in the US, because that's a big country, so it's not a big number.
Well, I guess not. I mean, it depends on your niche, but yeah, I mean, that's fun. That's the thing about, like even back in the day when I had a larger list. I'm only talking 5,000 to 10,000 people on my list, but I had a very specific audience. They were doing pay-per-click advertising, affiliate marketing. That was my audience. But so it's interesting. So when I bring up deliverability, you're not actually in the business of deliverability. You're in the business of constructing emails. I mean, it has some impact because you have to be able to build a system that creates emails that don't harm deliverability. But so what are the things what are the top things in terms of your service that you help people with, though? I mean, in terms of, do you have is there split testing? Is there abilities in your system to do that type of stuff to kind of track? Do you have stats and things in there to see what's performing or anything? No, you don't have that either.
No, we don't have stats or A/B tests because that's something that the email marketing platform does. What they can do, they can definitely create the different variations of the A, B, C, D, E variations, and it's easy because you have the option to save pretty much everything in your email as a reusable module or block, and you don't need to recreate everything from scratch or work from scratch too often, only when you start out. So we help with the testing approach, and based on feedback from customers, the software is useful because they have the ability to create new emails really fast, and that's really hard for a bit bigger teams to come up with something new and get the approval, get the designer to design it, get somebody to build the code if they still hand code the emails. So that's a tedious process, and it's not us who did research on this topic, but it's Litmus. They are a well-known name in the email industry. They focus on email rendering and analytics. And according to their studies, it's over, if I'm not mistaken, majority, it's still 50+% of email teams spend over 2 weeks working on an email project. So that's a long time. And of course, they typically talk about bigger companies. So if you're a small business, MailChimp is good enough with a small list size. or you can use a simple email builder to build out something that
Yeah.
you like better, or if you don't like the editor like you mentioned, then you have a few options. It was not always the case, but now today there are a few options, and that's why we as a business decided to differentiate and move out from the really small segment. But this differentiation is a challenge on its own, because what worked previously from, let's say, from a search engine optimization perspective doesn't necessarily work with this audience, because we are more picky about who we want to work with, and we don't have a $10 subscription, or subscription starts from 150, and that's a different audience already. So there are certain business-wise challenges when you say that, okay, you want to focus on a different audience, and we haven't mastered it yet, but it's an undergoing challenge.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I'm curious about that. You're bringing that up, because I think about it in my own business, my own agency. Like, it's evolved over time who we serve. Obviously, in the beginning, it was like, we'll take everybody. But over time, I've raised our prices, and as we could, kind of leveraged what we already had to raise our prices a little bit and keep incrementing them up, because I have a certain type of, well, even from the beginning, like I knew who my audience was. It wasn't somebody looking for $200 websites. So,
Yeah.
So a little higher end services. What was the process for you? Like in the beginning, did you kind of have that same idea that you'll just, where did you get your business initially? And then what was the thought process around, we need to either focus our vertical, figure out who we're targeting? Can you talk to that a little bit? I'm curious.
Yeah, in the early days, when we started the business as a whole, it was more of guessing what what to focus on. So we had an end user product, and we also had a white label product suite where we licensed the editor interface to companies like MailChimp, but obviously smaller. And with Edm Designer, that was the more sticky approach to make revenues. But with Chameleon, we decided to focus on the actual end users, businesses, and especially email teams. But it's hard because there's no, it's not really industry specific. So they are distributed into multiple industries. So it's hard to find a common, a common place where you would be able to find this audience. So they are more distributed, and they don't necessarily look for easy topics. But if you write about something more complex, then it doesn't mean that you will have more visitors. Most likely you will have less visitors, but those who get to your site, they are more relevant to what you provide them. So this is the challenge for us, because we are primarily SEO or content marketing driven in this regard to date, but we always experiment with new channels. Since we are in the email industry, paid ads are extremely expensive. So you have to compete with everybody, the big names. You name it. For example, MailChimp, they advertise pretty much for everything, just because you mentioned it. And funnily, I received a link building outreach email from MailChimp's agency that they are looking for backlinks from us. So that's how the search engine optimization and online ads work nowadays. So it's an endless hole where you can throw in your money and spend on it, and it's just super hard. And I think it became harder and harder in the past 8 years, I would say, to rank for certain keywords. Of course, because there are more and more websites competing for certain keywords. So I think if we were to start out with something new, and we do it actually, so we're going to have a new, really niche specific offering. It's under a different brand. It's still under Works. It will be emailhero.io because we purchased that domain, let's say 4 years ago. But we didn't do anything with it. So there will be a service, and it's only for publishers. So then it's easy because you have a niche saying that, okay, we have this service for publishers and it's really specific to their needs. It can help them automate the whole email creation process without needing to, copy paste things from their website to a software. We can do that automatically and integrate with their CMS, multiple CMSs, no matter how many. So if they have a big number of newsletters to handle, then we have the right solution for them. And it's easy because it's clear enough. You can summarize the USP and the value proposition in, let's say, 10 sentences. And they will know, oh, wonderful, is it interesting for us or not? But at least we know who is it for. So if I would need to give advice to anybody starting out, my advice would be just find your niche and focus only on that niche. And of course, your offering will evolve from a simple tool maybe to an enterprise grade solution, but that will take some time depending on your finances, how much money you have, how well you can finance the development if it's a software tool. I'm not into consulting. I used to work for an agency, but that's not really my favorite thing to do because of the back and forth with clients. Although we do the same now. I do back and forth with clients, but it's a different story because we build a product for them, so we don't build a site. We give them the tools to build what they want to. So I feel better in this position of, being more product oriented than service. But I think what works out really well, especially if you're starting out small, is to find your niche and just focus on that one as long as
become known for that.
It pays off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is tricky. And like you said, depending on almost everything is competitive these days, especially in the SEO world and pay-per-click or Facebook or whatever. I've dabbled in some ads and stuff, but like I said, it's kind of a black hole. It just sucks your money. It takes a good investment to see the results, and the results may not always be good. And I kind of dabbled in SEO for a little while, and we still it's in the background, but our big thing has been social media, doing content like this. And video's hot. Have you thought about getting more into video marketing or using video more in your business, or do you already?
I think we are not active enough in that regard when it comes to videos, but it comes up occasionally.
I mean, you have a very specific because of your niche. I mean, I don't know how big that audience is. That's your main product. Chameleon. It's like one of the things that, I see other businesses do. Freemius, for example. I don't know if you're familiar with Freemius. They're kind of a big name in the WordPress world. They have a marketing platform that myself and thousands of others use to basically sell and deliver their plugins or themes. And they have all the versioning in there and everything. It's really cool, actually. But anyway, I digress. But one of the things I see them doing, because I like to watch people and see what others are doing in the marketing space or to market themselves, is now they got started. I know the owner. He's actually been on this podcast, or the founder. But he, starting out, it was kind of the groundwork going to events, networking, trying to get people, even one person, the first person, the second person, one by one. Now he's built it up. I know the Slack group alone has over 1,000 users. But I see them really leaning into content and training. They have a blog, they have a newsletter, and they do a really nice job with that. It's all very professional, way more professional than I do. And video. They got the YouTube thing going on. They're doing training there. So it's like they found a way that's where they're, like just content marketing and getting content out there and getting in front of people. I think for any product is a good idea because that's how you can garner attention and also it helps your user base or whatever as well, and they can share that stuff. And once you reach kind of this threshold where people care, but that's one way. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's about choosing a channel and then focusing on it long enough to see a difference. If you're lucky, not lucky, but persistent and a bit lucky, then you can find your own channel apart from the SEO or ads, and that's something that we are always actively experimenting on. We haven't found the ideal channel for this distributed audience. We hope that for this niche product, email hero for publishers, it's way easier than saying that, okay, we have a email creation platform for teams. That's a broader thing to sell. We do have visitors. We built up a site to a certain level, but now, since the game is becoming more and more complex, so now we did a research on SEO companies who will do the link building and stuff for you and everything that's necessary. And it's typically in the 5 to 10K range per month if you want to outsource it. Yeah. So that's not a small investment. So
to a reputable company. There's plenty out there that'll do it for cheap, but who knows what links.
Yes, but it's actually, of course, we found cheaper ones. But if you want to work with somebody who's proven to be successful, and you don't want to spend your money on pretty much nothing or bad backlinks, then this is the range where you will need to spend per month to outsource it, and of course the results will come after a few months' time. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of investment that you need to make if you're into this. But if you're into paid ads, that's not less expensive. You still need to will depend on Google, or if you want to advertise on LinkedIn, that will be just way more expensive than Google ads. But maybe there's your audience. So the right channel challenge is a returning challenge for us too, and I guess it's a returning challenge for many until you don't find one that works out. And maybe for you the podcast and this different type of content works better than spending your time on your website and SEO. Because you just found a channel.
Right, exactly. Well, and I think you're hitting on something that it's not a one size fits all. It's not a one solution for. Oh, I got this particular business. This is what I'm going to do. You have to figure out where your audience lives, where you can reach them, and then just like you said, you're either going to throw a lot of money at it, or you're going to throw time and effort at it, right? Or be patient. It's going to be work. I mean, we've been doing. Started really focusing on marketing early, probably January, February of last year. So about over a year and a half. Every day we're posting content. We're building an audience. It's small but growing. We're getting engagement. We're getting making friends. We have fans out there, but it's taking time. Even for us, like I have help. And we're out there every single day, and every single day we're creating new content and putting love into that content. I review it every day, and it still takes time. But
Yeah.
like this podcast was something I just tried. I didn't know if I could do podcasting, and it's actually turned out to be a really powerful tool for us. And I enjoy it. I love talking to people like Roland. And so like what you're doing, it depends on, it's got to be more difficult for, like you said, it's a more distributed kind of, your audience is all over the place. So how do you tap them? But the other thing too, though, I just wanted to speak to is the idea of spinning off or doing another service or another type of product. That's probably, if that product or that service, whatever you're building over there, grows and you do tap that niche, and that might actually become your bread and butter eventually. Maybe something very successful for you and garners more of your attention. At the same time, it could. I've built stuff in the past where I've built like little satellite memberships around a larger membership or different products and stuff. And sometimes you think about it as all a funnel. I mean, some of those, that a percentage of those people might end up trying out your other products and stuff, which is kind of build this little ecosystem of solutions all around the same niche, which is important, kind of all in common, and those can, kind of feed each other, or you become louder in the world and garner more attention. So that's an interesting facet of this too. It's like you're not like, okay, we're having a hard time with marketing. Well, let's try this other idea, because sometimes creating a product can be marketing in itself in a way.
Yeah, it's not. So this is a new product, but since we have a white label offering from Chameleon 2, so we have a Chameleon SDK. We can license the editor and the gallery, the preview, and many other software components or plugins to other providers. So we build a system from these plugins for this specific niche, and
Okay.
there will be customers on it already on the day when we launch it. We will just open it to others. So it's not a brand new thing. It's still around email. We use the same technological background, but we pair it with a different niche and different, let's say, some different value propositions that make sense for these bigger publishers that have, let's say, 50 or 100 different newsletters which use the same template, but they have 60 different brands, let's say. And it's a challenge to maintain all those different brands and the messages. And it seems to be more untapped than saying that, okay, we have an email creation platform. Although, of course, we always get compared with other tools, competitors. So there's.
But you're not build, but the nice thing is you can leverage all of the knowledge you already have to build this other tool too. You're not like going in a completely different direction, pivoting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I think the other thing I'm thinking of here, I like to kind of relate to my own business and just to reinforce things. But so one of the things I'm doing with my agency right now, we have this side project we're building. So our agency, we're a full service design development agency. We do a lot of WordPress, but we do other stuff too. But we kind of have a similar problem in that we do have a vertical. We serve agencies. We serve, this type of client, whatever. But it's not like in our messaging. We're kind of just more broad in our messaging. But we're building a separate, we have a project to go after a certain niche, a certain type industry that I have experience with. So it's not only I have past experience with this industry, but but we can leverage what we already know. We know how to build websites. So we're basically going to build build templates and specifically for this industry design and do all that. Still do custom work and stuff for them, but it's going to be we're going to be able to target that a lot easier. I'm going to be able to walk in to businesses and sell this thing if I need to. But it's a lot more identifiable, but we're not actually changing what we're doing. We're able to do, we're already doing it. We're just going to rebrand it over here in this little satellite project. So
actually, funnily, since we have these white label plugins, we have a whole suite of tools to build other tools. We're just a team of 20, so we can't build too many, but I would be able to employ an extra, let's say, 20, 50 people only to experiment with new solutions that can be spinned off really fast because the technology is existing. So we have a strong technological background, but after these many years, I realized, and I think most likely you do too, and many others who are listening to this, that the product is only a small fraction of your success. So no matter how many great solutions we can build, we can sell those. So we don't have enough power to say that, okay, we have 20 different products, one for this industry, one for that, one for another. Although we would be able to do it, you just need to choose one, ideally, that will be your bread and butter, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
But it's, for us, there was a transition from Edm Designer to Chameleon, so now most of the revenues come from the new offering, and then we found it hard to do this niche focused communication, or focus only on a specific niche with this broad audience that we have on the Chameleon site. And that's why we said that, okay, maybe this needs to be under a different brand, because anyways there aren't 20,000 publishers that we would target. There are maybe a few hundred or 1,000, 2,000, but that's it. So it's a small audience. And when you sell enterprise grade solution, it won't be search engine optimization or anything similar. So we don't have to focus on this regard to build a bunch of content. Of course, if we were the ones to come up with a report that becomes well known in the industry, then it makes sense. But then we would focus only on doing that report, doing the research, doing the interviews, and that will be the only thing that we give away, the publishing industry's report by Email Hero. So maybe this is I'm not giving away my ideas but maybe I did. Maybe this is something that we will do. It just came up now that
but that's what it's about, though.
To do it.
Just coming up with ideas, trying new things until something sticks, like finding your audience, finding your channel, and just keep trying things. And I think that's the lesson from this whole episode there's no one's going to tell you what to do and be like, this is how you're going to be successful. This is exactly what you do. Just follow these steps and go to this social platform, or spend this money on advertising with this particular ad, and you're going to become a multi-millionaire overnight. It just doesn't work that way.
I think if there are other builders on the podcast that they are not sure what to build, send me an email. We have a whole suite of tools. We can come up with something saying that, okay, you don't need to pay anything. You will pay a revenue share later on when it works, and just build it. We're happy to help fellow entrepreneurs get started. And I know how challenging it is to build your software from scratch. And I would say I'm a fan of no-code movement overall, but I don't have the time to learn any of these no-code tools now, but I would love to. So we also have a whole set of these plugins, and anybody with a bit of coding experience, they can just connect it and build a solution in a fraction of
Nice.
the time. And
Nice.
yeah, I think it's funny enough because I met a couple entrepreneurs locally who built, let's say, something like Ustream. Maybe you don't know it, or you know it. That was a streaming service.
Oh, Ustream.
It was built by
Ustream?
Ustream. Yeah,
Okay. I think I've heard of it.
they
Yeah.
focused on event, so doing live events online and showing
Yeah.
those things online. Now you can do it with YouTube and many other things, but when they started, they actually had to travel to the US to install their servers. And now
Or
you just go online and say that, okay, I purchased a server from AWS in
yeah.
2 minutes. And now maybe the same will happen to the software space, saying that, okay, you want a new software. Oh, you go shopping, you buy a bit of Chameleon, you buy a bit of something else, and there's your software.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
maybe you
a
will
dream.
connect it.
Yeah.
Maybe you will connect it with a no-code tool. And recently
no,
I researched.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I researched the future, and that's maybe a bit against the builder approach. It says that, okay, there will be AI for everything, and you can imagine an AI that writes the software based on the business requirements. Maybe that's
Yeah.
not too far away in the future if we as humanity don't ruin the world as it is today. But there are so many changes. So I think what we can do now is build useful solutions fast, because we are not sure how long these will last anyway.
Yeah.
But I think you also as an agency, you are always changing and evolving into something. And maybe there will be a time when you said, okay, this is a different story, this is a different brand, different service that we provide. You need another 10 people for it because it works better than your original business. That's not a bad place to be.
You have to be willing to be fluid and adapt as technology evolves, and I have conversations. Sometimes I have conversations with other agencies that are doing something in a particular way. I'm thinking of one recently. I think, that makes a lot of sense. That sounds a lot easier. But because I come from the, I want to build everything custom world, and everything's going to no code, or just use this builder over here. And so I'm starting to, think to myself, maybe I need to start adopting some of these ideas. So it's good. And I think there will be a day when there's an interface you log into, and you put in your, like, say, your business requirements or whatever you're dreaming up for a solution, and the AI goes out and just builds it for you. That would be like, but you still got to go out and market it. That's the chart. You still got to find your channel.
Yeah, that challenge stays with us, I think, for a long time, finding the channel, and it's becoming more and more challenging for everybody.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
especially as it gets louder out there, and we just, it's competitive now. It's certainly more competitive than it was 10 years ago, and it's not going to get any better.
No, but maybe it will be easier to produce solutions to the challenges people have. I've been always into the software space, but there are so many other things offline. So maybe if there are people looking for offline things, they can do the same or replicate some of the things that we do online. I think, we would be able to talk about this for an hour or two about the future. That's an interesting topic for me. But
I know we're starting to get into something interesting here now. Like, we're gonna have to have you come back. We'll talk about the future.
I have a future of email presentation prepared. I'm just looking for the right conference to talk about it. So that's nice. I did a bit of deep research in this regard, but that's really email heavy. But the future is an exciting topic too. So maybe you can have a separate episode with a few guys talking about future, I would be happy to join in.
Awesome. That is a good idea. No, okay. We're gonna. I think we might make that happen. 'Cause I love the idea.
Okay.
I'm really into, like, I'm obviously a tech guy, so I follow all this stuff. Anyway, we could keep talking forever. I want to just thank you for joining us, Roland. It was a real pleasure, really interesting conversation. If somebody wants to reach out to you, they want to find you. You're out in social media? How's the best way to get a hold of you?
By email. I'm an email guy, so you can email Roland at chameleon.io. It's easy to find it anyways with any lead finder tool, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn. If you can, I guess you can copy paste my name from the show notes. I can even pass there the LinkedIn URL. I'm pretty active there. I'm checking it, not writing as often, but I do check LinkedIn quite often, more often than Twitter. So my Twitter handle is not too active.
Sounds good. Well, you have a good rest of your day. Thank you, Builders Crew.
Thanks for having me. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.